maybe not devastated. Okay. Welcome. Just a moment. I'm Emily. Emily spelled funny. And what's this? So, as you saw, I do host the lectures in Zoom. It'll just be my screen and my voice, obviously, not very entertaining at all. But then I'll post them on YouTube after class. And so if you miss a class, then that's, you can get caught up on it, but man, what a drag. Okay. You're welcome to hop in on Zoom. I'll post the Zoom room on Moodle. But I didn't want to do it before class because I can get very confusing. It's not an online class. It's just something that I like to do for my students because you're all adults and you can decide what works best for you. Right. Did you have a question? Sorry.
I was just trying to log into
I don't know. False alarm. All good. Awesome. Okay, so math for arts, huh? You read that fun description. Hey, that's the kind of math I want to be doing. Cool, right? It is pretty cool. It's kind of a mixed bag for a course. We do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but it's pretty fun. So, there's another section, okay? They're going to be doing quite a bit more kind of group work stuff. And so I struggle with it because I love having everyone in class. I do. But I don't want to force attendance because I don't know. I don't think that that's very cool. And so I have a hard time kind of forcing group work and that kind of stuff. There's value in it for sure. And everyone would just do it. It would be awesome. But we're not, I'm kind of leaning away from the group work aspect, unless I hear revolt. We want group work. I'm kind of seeing the opposite, actually. So no. So that's kind of my plan. Kind of as I suspected, group work is tricky, right? And so it'll be you, me, math, just normal. Okay. And so more fun in Leslie's section probably, but more mellow in my section. Okay. I think the difference would be, so she's only going to have one test, then a presentation at the end of the term. I don't really know how we would kind of pull that off without building up to it with the group work first. And so that's why I'm going to be doing just 2 tests. Okay. And so I'm kind of jumping into it, but because we were talking about the 2 different sections, I wanted to lay out the differences between the 2 sections right away so that you know. Yeah.
So they're doing more hands-on group work and.
Yeah, they're doing group of
students.
Pardon?
Students do a presentation project?
Yeah. So again, I'm kind of leaning more traditional, sticking with a test and a final exam, and assignments, of course, kind of. Okay, and so I left the course outline a little bit open-ended, so that we could. There's a typo already. It's the wrong section number. Oops. A little copy pasta mistake here. But let's take it from the top. I'm Emily. Emily spelled funny. It's not like my parents are super cool or anything. I was born in Sweden, and that's just how they spell it there. And then we moved here, and no one knows what it is. So yeah.
Your family, are you guys all Swedish?
Yeah.
Oh, what prompted you to move?
So we moved. Well, I've been here for a long time, but my dad's work. We moved to Vancouver in '94, and then we moved back to Sweden in '96, and then we moved back and stayed since '98. So, how long have I been here? Well, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. My office is just downstairs. I always joke that if I'm in my office, it's my office hours. So I don't have set office hours because I'm always available to you. And what I find works, oh, that's a weird size pen. Oh no, I'm zoomed in. But my cell is 250-864-8386. So might want to save that. You can, well, don't phone me. It's also on our Moodle page. Yeah, you can text me. And the reason I do this, all my colleagues, what? You give out your cell phone number? That's insane. And I've never had any issues. And so I keep doing it. One day I'll learn a lesson. But if you're working on a math problem, it's really annoying to have to type that up in an email, right? Especially if you're kind of thinking about a problem and you just can't quite get it. You're welcome to email me. It goes to my phone. It doesn't matter. They come to the same place. And so from my end, whatever you prefer. But I do find that texting is a little bit quicker. If you've introduced yourself, then I know who I'm texting with, right? And you can kind of just jump in and say, hey, I'm working on this problem. And I just find that if you send me a picture or something, and then I can look at it and kind of get it back to you, right? And so I always say, so just like you're an adult, I'm an adult, right? If it's a bad time for me to be texting you back, I'll try to let you know and say, hey, I'm a little bit busy. I'll let you know later, right? And so what I find is sometimes, you know, I wake up in the morning and I'll have a series of text messages and it'll go something like, I'm so stuck on this question. I can't figure it out. This isn't working, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, boom, 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 boom. And then it ends with, I think I figured it out. Okay, no, I got it. Okay, thanks. And I wake up and that's a day's work, right? And so usually what I find is articulating what the question is the hardest part, right? So just kind of sending that text out into the universe and asking that question, you can kind of start to think about it a little bit in a different way, right? And so usually that's kind of step one of figuring out how to solve a problem. And so I find that happens often. Right? And so, yeah, hence I give out my cell phone. My ringer is never on, so it's just luck of the draw when I look at my phone, which is often, right? But so you don't have to worry about disturbing me or anything. Right? Any questions so far? No. Okay. Who's actually in the arts program? Cool. I'm like, what's everyone else doing? Where'd you come from? Something else? That's okay. Nope. Well, if you're in the arts program, maybe I told my coworker, Steve, I was like, you know what? I did it on purpose, actually, because this is to be determined by me. And the final exam is to be announced by the college. So
So what time on the 13th is that midterm?
In class.
Oh, that was one day I will not be available for.
Oh, we can talk about that. Yeah. I do like to get the tests over with before reading break, right? And so, because then you could actually have a chance at a break, which you'll need so desperately, because term 2, it's a slog, right? There's no long weekends to look forward to. It's just reading break, and you need an actual break by that point. And so, yeah, leading up to reading break is going to be kind of hard, I think, because I think a lot of people do this, but we'll have test 1 before reading break. And then I'll have a bunch of marking. That was bad planning, but things I do for you. And then test 2, I'll kind of decide where to put it in terms of the material and how, you know, how quickly we're moving through material. If you guys are just kind of crunching through it, then that's cool. But we can kind of set the pace in this course. I'm sure that you saw that it doesn't necessarily transfer for a science degree, and so it'll transfer to like a math for arts, right? But that's pretty typical. Okay. Any questions? You guys are so quiet. It's crazy. Maybe I need to tone it down. Bracing themselves. And what is this course about? And are we going to do material today? Or is it just course outline? It's just course outline. Come on. We're going to use an open textbook. And I imported the little sections into Moodle. So that's what you're seeing there. So it imported the entire textbook, right? And we'll kind of plug through it. We're going to parking lot the matrices. So chapter 2. Although it sounds cool, right? Matrices, right? Should we do matrices? I know, make you commit before you know what they are. And then I can say, well, you wanted this actually. So yeah, I'll decide. But for now, I've pulled matrices because I don't know about timing and things like that. But you've got it. You could read it if you want. But we will start with chapter 1, of course, on Thursday. Okay? So, like I said, I imported the entire textbook, but it's also available for download. Where am I? I guess I just gave you the link in the course outline, which is also posted on Moodle. Looks like this, but it's the same thing that's imported into Moodle. So whatever you'd like to read. Okay. Good. Oh. It's funny because I'm often in this room. So I'm kind of like, well, they know to go to the other door. No, they don't. Not necessarily. But if you're coming in, there's a secret back door that you can use instead. So now you know. So course content, a little bit of everything. Okay. And so some of this might be familiar. We'll kind of start from the bottom, and if it's easy, then that's cool. And if it's not, then that's okay. We'll keep working at it. Okay. And so but touching on a lot of things and not going very deep into any of them. Oh, pretty good. Right. Sometimes I wonder what people would prefer. We should just pick one thing and go super hard. But I kind of like the variety. Touching on a few things, maybe like some things, maybe you don't like some things. Learning outcomes, we'll revisit these closer to the final exam, right? They're not going to make sense. But I mean, take a step back and say, wow, I'm going to have all this on my resume, huh? Pretty good.
I do want to ask, what is your teaching style, or does your teaching style kind of mold its way to how the class is, how each student in the class kind of learns?
So typically, I do lecture style, kind of old school, but it's usually because I'm not getting a lot of anything. So it kind of depends on. I'm happy to do that. Right, I got a lot to say, and so I'm happy to blab and do whatever. But if you prefer to kind of, I do want to incorporate some, work on some problems, but maybe towards the end of the class, so that we're not holding up the class. But yeah, usually I'm writing notes. Although I've got a wrist thing, and so I'm trying not to write too much, and so that's pretty annoying because I usually write a lot. But then I post my notes after class, so even if you're missing something, but whatever I write, I'll post on Moodle after class. Okay, and same with, so I'll post a YouTube playlist where I post the videos from class. But like I said, super boring probably. I've never ever watched any of my lectures through, so yikes. So boring. But if you'd like to review them or use them for review, watch them double time. I know you guys are good at doing that usually, and I refuse. Drives my husband bonkers. It's like, you watch it double time. No, I cannot. I cannot. So, pretty cool. List of learning outcomes. Doesn't mean anything. That's okay. Well, it means something to me, luckily. Pretty standard grade breakdown. Not rocking the boat here. Yeah.
I don't have glasses at the moment, so does that say 20%?
Sure does. 20% for assignments. They're going to be just online assignments. From the time that we cover the material, you'll usually, I'll give you at least a week to do them, right? And if you haven't used the platform, I'll give you some late passes. And so you'll have 10 late passes throughout the term. And then what a late pass does is it extends your due date by 24 hours, right? So that you can decide. You'll only have 10 throughout the term, and you have to apply it before the due date. Okay? Kind of similar to if you're working with a client and you've set a deadline, and then you're going to miss that deadline. That's okay. But you should probably let them know first, not after the deadline, right? Kind of the logic. And so as long as you put a late pass on before it closes, then you'll have an extended 24 hours. And you can put as many as you want on an assignment, although I wouldn't do too many because you only get 10 and assignments aren't worth that much. Okay. I don't have, so the last time I taught this course was in 2015. And so things have kind of changed. I've changed kind of how I deliver courses and things like that. So I don't have any assignments made up yet, but I will, and you'll get them. Okay. And so once they're posted, like I said, you'll have at least a week to do them. Okay.
Will the assignments be for each chapter?
So yeah, probably, or at least halfway through each chapter, depending on the content. Right, there's kind of natural breaking points. And so often I'll try to do one assignment per week-ish, right? Sometimes one per day, depending on the content.
How many questions should we accept? Each assignment?
It depends on, because sometimes there's like multiple parts and things like that, but I would put them probably around 15 marks each, if that, and then that can be, you know, one question with multiple parts or that kind of thing. So probably around, yeah, 10 to 15 marks, depending on the content. Yeah. Nice. Okay.
For the assignments, are they like we can redo the questions as much as we want?
Yeah.
until we do it?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll have, I can't remember what I do. I think you can have, well, let's decide. How many attempts do you want until you have to try a new version? Usually I do, I think, 10 attempts or something like that.
It's nice,
Yeah. However, the bonus of doing less is that then you get the answer quicker. And then you can try a new version, kind of backtrack your way, which I know is probably bad, but that's how I used to study. So I that's fine, right? If I have a solution, I can kind of work my way to it and then figure out what went wrong. And so if we do a lower number of tries and then a higher number of versions, right, then you can kind of backtrack your way to it. So maybe that might be good. Depends on how soon you want those answers, so you can try again. 5 tries, 10 versions, which means you could do a question way too many times. Yikes.
Usually the practice though.
I know, it's very cute when I have students who, if I forget to mention it in class or something like that, and they're doing their first assignment, they're like, well, I could just keep working at this until I have 100%. You can, and you should. And so assignments for me, this should be 100%. Right? Your assignment grade should be 100%. That's what I'm expecting you to have, right? I'm not out to get you here. This is supposed to be a sitting pretty 20% of your grade. Right? That's a pretty good bump, right? They require work, but hopefully they help you for the tests, right? So, test 1, test 2, 20% each. What I do, I don't write it in the course outline because it's kind of unofficial, under the radar, but for your lowest test grade, I'll shift the test of the weight of one of your tests to the final exam if your final exam is better, okay? Because for me, the ultimate goal for me is improvement. You can show me that you improved, then that's, I mean, what more could I want, right? And so I'll do it for one of your tests where I'll shift the weight of that final, or the test, to the final exam. That can be whether you didn't write it, right? Or you just weren't prepared, whatever, it doesn't matter. So my thing is, I care about you, but if it's the test day and you know you're feeling sick or whatever, don't worry about reaching out to me. It's okay. It's okay. I'm just gonna take that test weight. You're not gonna write the test. It's okay. I'll shift it to the final exam. You're not gonna be missing. You're not gonna have 0 there. Okay. And so, yeah, I don't need a doctor's note or anything like that. I'll just do it for everyone. Okay. Makes you want to strategically skip a test if you're not prepared, right? So to avoid that, that's why I do it for your lowest test grade, whether you didn't write it or it was just you weren't prepared, it's okay, doesn't matter. I do it for everyone, okay? So it's always better to write the test, even if you're not feeling prepared, right? Because it's so valuable to have that kind of sitting down, reading these questions, trying to solve them, that experience, right? Because they're going to come back on the final exam.
I want to ask, what's your education background in regards to the?
Oh, well, wouldn't you like to know? No, I did my undergrad in math, and then I did my master's in statistics. So stats is kind of my jam. And I worked in industry for a while. I worked for a market research firm. And then I worked as an analyst for a financial institution. And then I've been teaching, which I love. So, but yeah, math, stats.
Is it like pure mathematics?
I did kind of, yeah, I guess. Yeah. And they're both from UBCO, so I didn't go very far. So those guys can't shake me. When I started teaching, I started teaching at UBCO. And so I was teaching more there than I was here. And then because I only have my master's, then it's better to teach here because then I can be full-time. It's awesome. What else? Oh yeah, this is residual and I can delete or remove this because that's from the group assessments. But it should just say assignments will be given throughout the term. Super vague. Nothing, saying nothing really. Tests are during class time, right? And I posted the first date just so you can have something to work towards. And then the second one will be close to the end of the term, depending on where things fall. Okay. And the final exam is cumulative. Okay. But like I said, I don't pick the exam schedule. Yeah.
Are the midterms not cumulative?
No, they'll be kind of siloed topics, right? There are some underlying kind of core things that we'll need for test 2, but you'll have worked them in, so it'll seem like they're just standalone tests.
Will we also receive study guides?
Yeah, I do a practice test.
Like a full practice exam?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. You made it here, so you knew classes started, so that's cool. Last day to register, blah, 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 blah. If you're like me, you probably marked down, oops, not that one. Reading break already. Like I said, it's our only little tiny break this term. And so it's attached to family day, right? It's that whole week, no classes. It's great. The other one that I want to highlight here, kind of the most important date, I think, is March 14th. You might want to set a reminder in your phone. Not because I think everyone's going to do well and everyone has good intentions but everyone has a bad term at some point. It happens. You never know when it's going to happen. And so if things don't go to plan, and by March 14th, you should have a really good idea of, are you going to pass or fail this course, right? And so, right, then you need to make a strategic decision because this is the last day that you can withdraw with a W, okay? The reason to be strategic about it is because a W doesn't count towards your GPA, whereas a fail does. And so that can be kind of really bad, right? If you already know that you might be failing this course, then if you're willing to work at it, I'm happy to work with you. Okay, but sometimes things just don't work, right? That's okay. And that's when you should be withdrawing instead. Okay. And then last day of classes, who doesn't love that? Right. April 11th. And then Easter is kind of bunging up our final exam schedule. But that's okay. Any questions so far? So a lot of these policies are auto-generated, just math department policies, but I will highlight some of these, okay? Written assignments, no, blah, 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 blah. The main one is that you have to get at least 45% on the final exam in order to be able to pass the course, okay? And so otherwise I can't pass you. You need to show me that you know just under less than half the material for me to feel comfortable passing you. I think that's pretty reasonable, right? The exam's cumulative, and so, right, that's 45% of the material isn't so crazy, right? But I will highlight this. It's never been a problem, really. The only times it's been a problem is if I've had some people, even though I bring it up towards the end of the term, forget about it or something, and they kind of go into the final exam saying, oh, I only need 20% on the final to pass the course. So that's what they do, and then it's all a big mess. So don't do that. Try your best. Calculators. You'll want a calculator. Something kind of scientific-y. You're allowed to use graphing calculators if you want to. Okay. I'll be using this little guy. It's totally fine. Yeah, this is an old version. It's now way cooler looking and kind of black with green buttons or something like that. But yeah, I use a Casio. I've been eyeing, there's a pink one on Amazon that sometimes goes on sale, and so I'm kind of tempted by that. But any calculator is fine. We're not going to be using a ton of these functions anyways, so either way is fine. Okay. One thing that you might want to look out for, let's see here. Now I need to review what I said. Nope, I take it back. I thought I included some material that I did not. It's okay. No special buttons needed. There's gonna be the log button. Some calculators have the log base something button, which this one does, but I somehow managed to cut exponents and logs. Sneaky. And I'm a little bit shocked by myself. I'm gonna give you a formula sheet, and an alternative is that you make your own formula sheet. I find that that's kind of tricky though. It's kind of nice to be handed a formula sheet, right? Here's what you need to have. Otherwise you might forget something. Or worse, what if you forget to make a formula sheet for the test? Yikes.
You can bring the formula sheet on the test.
Well, so if you want to have a make your own formula sheet, we can do that. Otherwise, if we're just using mine, I'll bring fresh copies. But yeah, we can kind of decide that as we go, right? Pick out things we want on the formula sheet. Like I said, it's been a long time since I taught this course, and so I don't really have anything up my sleeve, which is kind of fun. Let's choose your own adventure. So. generative artificial intelligence. I think we should use it. I do. It's here to stay. What are we supposed to do? I don't know. I'm so torn. Obviously, so there's a fine line. If we're sitting here in class and I'm giving you a paper test and it's closed book, do you think that you can use AI? No, obviously not, right? And so, but if you can use it to learn, that's awesome, right? I always kind of bring up the example because I get so frustrated with students who ask me questions where the obvious reply is just, well, did you Google it? Because I'm like, did you Google it? Did you? But when I went to school, we were told we weren't allowed to Google stuff, right? And yeah, I know, right? And so I kind of feel like we're doing the same thing with AI. Oh, no, you don't. But then we're gonna have to use it anyways. Anyways, that's my soapbox. So I encourage you to use it. In fact, I encourage you to show me how you use it if you find it helpful in learning this material.
There's this website that my coworker showed me, it's called Notebook LM, and what I like about it, that it doesn't pull, I think, from other internet sources. You just upload your notes and it summarizes them for you.
Oh, that's cool.
Answers things, questions you have for you without plagiarizing.
Hey, that's nice. See, love it. Love it. I think, yeah, there's a lot of kind of room to grow and we can do this, right? But I think as long as we have this clear understanding that if it's your own material that you're presenting to me on paper, then it should be your own material. Yeah. But for assignments, go ahead, use it. I don't care, like I said, as long as you're learning, right? Even if, like I said, you're supposed to have 100% on the assignments. How you got that 100%, I don't want to say I don't care. I do care. But my goal is that you learn the material, and it's just kind of a bummer if you just get the answer and then don't do well on the tests anyways. All right, so kind of get out of it what you put into it type of thing. Okay? So that's my soapbox. Let's use it. Show me all your cool AI things. And that's it. You've got resources available to you, many. Don't cheat. Done. Be nice to each other. Be nice to me. Done. There's counseling available on campus. I think that's kind of the one that people aren't aware of. There's also the Success Center. You guys been in the Success Center? Wherever they're calling it now. The Learning Center. They keep changing the name, and it's very confusing for me. But Kate works in that, so she's mostly math, and she'll be really awesome. Free tutoring. They've been paid already, so it's your job to just go use them now, right? And so you don't have to pay or anything. Of course, you can come to me too, but sometimes it's nice to have kind of an outside tutor style perspective, right? But you're welcome to come work with me too. All right. Any questions? Did I say all the things? I mean, how would you know? In my head. I had this plan of doing grade calculations. Do you guys know how grade calculations work? So, because to a lot of my students, grades are kind of this thing that goes into Moodle and it's there and something happens and then you have your final grade, right? And then there it is, and that's your fate. And so just want to do a quick example, right? If assignments are worth 20%, usually what I do is I convert this to a decimal. Let me make this pen smaller. Maybe like that. These are proportions. Percentages are proportions, just no divide by 100 basically. Okay, so that's the portion of your grade that you get from each component, right? And so now, what if you get your grade? The trick is going to be to take your grade as a percentage. One of these has to be a percentage, and the other one has to be a proportion. That's going to be the easiest way to do it. Okay, and so here, as a, oh, it's all glitchy. Weird. You could even break this down into individual assignments, but man, how annoying, right? Let's say we have 20 assignments, they're 1% each, right? You can take your assignment 1 grade, assignment 2 grade, right? But let's just look at the overall assignment grade, okay? Let's say you get 100%, which you will, right? So 100% on your assignments. How are we feeling for test 1? Maybe a solid 82%. Huh? Pretty good. Some of you will be mad about the 82%, and some of you will be very happy about 82%. That's just how grades are. Let's say you get 82%. And then, I don't know, something happened, test 2, you get 67%. Still a pass? Pretty good. Yeah. Let's ignore me shifting the weight of your lowest test to your final exam. And let's say on your final exam, you managed to pull off 90%. Wow. So good. Now, so here, this is the proportion. This 100%, you get 100% of 0.2 of your grade, right? And so if you multiply these across like this, then you can add up your total at the end, okay? So let's say you multiply, multiply, multiply. So then you have your proportion multiplied by whatever grade you got as a percentage. Ugh. I thought I changed the pen. Oh, it is. Oh, I'm zoomed in. Okay. It's gonna look good when I zoom out. Better, at least. Okay. So, trusty calculator, 0.2 times 100. Well, it's 20, isn't it? Right, because it's 20% of your grade. Got all that 20. 82, you get 82% of 0.2. So 82 times 0.2 or 0.2 times 82, you have 16.4 out of the 20%. Right? Then 67 times 0.2 or 0.2 times 67, 13.4. Right, contributing to your overall grade. If you haven't written the final yet, what could you do? You could add these all up and divide by 60, right? Because you haven't incorporated 40% of your grade yet, right? So then you could just divide it by 60, and that's where you're at, right? But let's incorporate that 0.4 times solid 90% on the final exam. Makes 36, right? 36 out of 40. And now we're gonna add these all up. 20 plus 16.4 plus 13.4 plus 36. You're at 85.8% in the course. Which is also how you can play around with this little guy, right? What grade do you need on the final exam to get 90 in the course? Maybe it's too far gone. Can only get to 40. Close, you round up. You'd have to get 100% on the final. Right? Why? Because you're missing 4.2, right? But 36 can only go to 40, right? So there's only 4 there, but it would round up anyways.
How difficult is this class for someone that's, math is not my strong suit. I took pre-cal 11 and was very humble. So I took foundations after that.
It's not hard math. It's just a lot of different math.
Is it easier than pre-cal 11?
You know, I don't know exactly the curriculum, but of the high school maths, but it's pretty good. Can kind of get there. Right? Maybe not. Leave grades to Moodle then. No, it is important. And it's probably the most kind of applicable math that you'll have in school. And so maybe for Thursday, I'll come up with some other examples and bring some others in and we can work through it, right? Because it is valuable. Yeah. Any questions? Comments? Concerns? All right. Good enough. We did the course outline. All right. See you Thursday.